All right, so good evening. Welcome to this class. Today is going to be the beginning of this last unit. All right, this is unit 4, and we're going to learn about Cambridge. All right, as we did last week with TOEFL, we're going to do the same with Cambridge this time. This is one way of approaching, right, how to organize oral presentations, but actually you're going to see that it's kind of the same. Of course, the way we structure that in these short answers that we're going to practice is different. The time is different as well, and the questions and the things that I ask you in general are different. However, the things that we're going to apply for the oral presentation, right, are like the same as we did with the TOEFL. The only big difference is not actually a big difference, is that we have one more option. And in fact, it's something that we also did in the last oral presentation, which I think Melanie did, right? It's something like, do you agree or disagree with this one, right? It's just one extra option that we have. But as we're going to see when working with the rubric and the criteria, you're going to see what we're going to be evaluating this time and the options that you have, and also the things that you have to do for this final oral presentation. Okay, so with that said, I don't want to start this explanation until 8 o'clock, so I'm going to try to remind you what you need to do for this Friday, and I'm going to say some important things as well. I'm going to this part. This is something we're going to work. This information is something that you know, so it's not something new, but I'm going to remind you here and right now. Remember that it's very important to upload a PowerPoint presentation, right? If you don't do it, I'm not able to evaluate your presentation, so you have to do it. If it's not there, well, it's not going to be graded. You can upload it late only once. That's going to be 50% of the total, right? If you do that for the second time, then it's not going to be evaluated. It's going to be like a 0. You must turn on the camera. I think we haven't had any problems with this, right? Just turn it on and start with your presentation. If it's not on, it's only going to be 75% of the total, right? And you must not read. And this is something I'm going to take into account in this final presentation, okay? The student must not read the entire presentation, right? The presentation that you have in PowerPoint can be used to guide the student, right? To guide you. And reading is allowed to guide oneself, but not during the whole presentation, right? So again, I have not been strict related to this specific point, but for this final presentation, I need to take this into account because it's different to do something related to the skills that you can use at speaking, right? How to paraphrase, how to improvise, how to look for similar vocabulary, synonyms, and so on, than reading, right? That's what reading, it's a different skill. So this final or the oral presentation, it's going to take that into account. All right. So please remember that one. Just that, because this next part is something I'm going to read with you and the criteria as well. All right, because we have some new aspects over there, and it's important for you to know that. And also, as we have 5 more minutes before 8 o'clock, I'm going to remind you the following. I'm going to read some of the mistakes you have over here so that you can work this with me today and perhaps Wednesday as well. And the next and the rest of the information, it's going to be for you to take a look at it. Okay, so remember, these are some mistakes that you have and you need to improve. Let's begin with Melanie's. Here I have, for example, it says vocabulary, conjugation, and structure, right? How everything starts, third person always, or how everything started. Two options, but only like that, it's incorrect. 10 buses before being there, right? Why? Before is preposition and after prepositions we use gerund. All the behavior, only behavior, or all that behavior, right? Not like plural. Comfortable, Again, there are many options with pronunciation, right? But I'm trying to use the standard, all right, the standard way of pronouncing these words. So comfortable. So evolution is all the time. No, evolution happens all the time. Could be one option. I think I made a mistake past. The entire world has changed, right? Has changed. They've grown or they grew up, right, without technology. A lot of people can't have the opportunity to have them. A lot of people, perhaps it's a lot of people couldn't, right? That's the tense as well. Couldn't have the opportunity. They were not used to using that device, right? That's when it means accustomed, right? They were not used to using them. Then here the classes also were changed, right? Were also changed. That's also better, but the idea is that changed with D, right? Changed. And that also would be better in between the auxiliary and the past participle. The university, right, or universities are also thinking, right? So you have two options. The university in general could be, or just plural, universities are also thinking in the future, and so on and so forth. If you don't have, as I was saying, right? As I was saying, not how, the most important is getting, right? Gerunds when it's activity. Then for trying gerund, for trying to maintain, it depends on how the other people are. Embedded question. That person doesn't, right? Third person. It's difficult to, let's read the entire thing over here, for the other person to know, right? It's difficult for the other person to know. Then I need somebody that gives me, right? It was a general example. These are like these tendencies, right? It has to be plural. The best way to do it is opening, right? Is by opening or opening, right? Gerund. Most of the time, right? Not the most of the time. Most of the time, little tips, okay, or a few tips could be better over here for being good friends or to be good friends, right? Little, but I would say few, but it could be possible, all right? But the thing here, it was Jared for being a good friend or good friends, right? There is going to be two reasons. Now, there are going to be two reasons, and friends are like stars, right? Without the T. Then going with Carolina, entities, right? An entity, many entities, automatically, comfortable. What do these, okay, companies, right? Enterprises answer to you? You can rate, right? Rate and phenomena or phenomenon. Okay, and here we have more. Climate, regional, the earth, recent, dioxide, right? Or dioxide, interchangeably, invaded, comparison, crisis, companionship, and customizable. All right, customizable. To begin to begin with this presentation, right, or to begin with, I like to, and you may say something different. Those are countries that have been, right, have been affected. Some pictures, images could be some pictures of how the world, right, can be. So it's order and expression, right? Some pictures of how the world may change or may result, right, in a few years and so on and so forth. Then if they achieve, right, or if they get to survive, right, if they get to survive, they'll live and so on. If we don't, right, if we don't use, I'm going to actually This is something I deleted with other people. I'm going to do the same here with Carolina. This was a mistake, not because it was a mistake, but she changed her mind. And this is something I deleted with some of you. So it was just that type of mistake. Go on a bicycle or ride a bicycle, right? Imagine how you spent, right? How much time you spent traveling, right? How much gas or gasoline you spent, right? Something is missing there. It was incomplete, as we were saying. I did some research, right, about a website, no, investigate or investigated, but it's better in this case. I did research. We have a more dynamic, let me complete. Okay, we have more dynamic activities or a more dynamic activity, right? Singular or plural. You have to decide with that a. It's incorrect in that case. You don't know how the other person is, right? Embedded questions. When we have a relation, a face-to-face, right? Relationship or relation or something you want to say, but face-to-face is going to be the adjective, right? With another person. They are talking with their, no, they are using their cell phones, they are talking on their cell phones. Then the main reason or the most important reason to be ashamed, right? To be ashamed. I will show you some graphics or a graphic, right? And that's it. Now let's work yours. You are here, Stefania, and actually I'm going to read yours now. But before doing it, let's try to see how you're doing. Read this word to begin, please. Stefania, this is the only word with pronunciation.
Okay, good evening, teacher.
Hello, good evening.
Comparison.
Okay, yes, comparison. Good. What about these expressions?
They don't have any weight.
Okay, good. This one?
When we go to the university or when
Okay,
we are at the university,
very good.
we have access in immediate, yes, immediate dictionary.
Okay, one more time, please. One more time, the whole idea.
We have access in immediate at dictionary, or yes,
Okay,
or
let
we
me
have
see.
access at dictionary immediate, I don't know, but not immediately.
Okay, I'm going to mark this with yellow, right? Why? Because yes, it's immediate, but only if you place that word before access, right?
Right,
Immediate
right.
access, right? Or you can say immediately at the end. You can say immediately, but we have access to a dictionary immediately, right? So you have those two options, all right? The next one, please.
You need to go to a library.
Okay,
The technology gives us,
good.
and it's more easier, is only it's easier.
There you go. Exactly. Okay, that's it. I have no more observations with you. I don't know if you have any questions related to this, Stefania, before going to the explanation of the class.
No, teacher.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next part. I imagine that when Majo joins the class, I'm going to work this with her, and the same with Carolina and Melanie. Now it's 8:05, so let's begin. Well, I would like that everybody's here to explain these parts. Mm, I'm going to try to wait 5 more minutes, but before doing that, of course, we're going to do something different. But it's important that everybody listens to these criteria because we have some different criteria to take into account and some important elements here as well. All right. So before doing so, actually, we're going to start working with today's presentation, Stefania, and it's similar to the previous one, but instead of working with the TOEFL, we're going to work with the Cambridge, all right, structure. This is a different international test, and this is a different way to give answers, different time and everything, but it's going to be used in a similar way in the oral presentation. But in the practice, in these assignments is going to be different. We're going to, and actually before doing that, I'm going to show you how it looks. This is the prompt that you use for the ECCE. That's the name of this test, all right? ECCE. And this is only a B2 level. It's not too high, but B2 is like the standard level that you can get. And many international tests are to get this level. Let's begin reading to understand more or less what this prompt is about, Estefania. I'm going to ask you to read the first part, those two that are marked over there, please. I'm going to make this bigger. Okay.
Okay, situation. I am your friend and I have a problem. Find out what my problem is and offer me some good advice. First, you should look at the pictures below and ask, what is the problem? What are some possible solutions? What are the disadvantages of each solution?
Thank you very much. Good. So this is the first part, and this is something you're going to do, and you're going to record yourselves. These 3 questions have to be asked in a different way. And we're going to practice with something that you've been having some problems with, which is, all right, the embedded question. All right, embedded question. An embedded question is a question inside a sentence or inside another question, right? So these 3 questions are the beginning of your oral, well, actually not the oral presentation, just these assignments, these recordings are the first part for those recordings. These questions have to be asked in a different way. And actually, let's try to do this together. For example, what is the problem? You can use embedded questions or you can use synonyms or different ways to get this information. And I'm going to start with you also, Estefania. If you have this question, what is the problem? In what other ways can you ask the same problem, or the same question with other words, with synonyms or with different structures? What do you say?
Maybe what is the big deal? Could be, or I don't know.
Okay, but if you say big deal, it's like you're saying, what's the big deal with that, right? Why is that important? Okay, if you ask that, you're saying, in other words, why is that important? Okay, but in this case, only the problem. What are other options can you think of?
I don't know.
For example, what is one synonym of problem that you may have in mind?
I don't know, teacher. Maybe to change the question, what is happened with you? Maybe.
Okay, good. Exactly. That's valid. Correct. You can ask something different, but the answer is going to give us that information, right? Good. What's happening with you, right? If it's with the verb to be, ing, right? What's happening with you? Or what happens, right? What happens? Tell me what's happening. Are you okay? Right? So yes, there are many ways in which you can ask that one. The next one, I'm going to go back to you then, Estefania. Majo, the next question is, what are some possible solutions? That's the question. Let's turn on the camera, please, and try to tell me in which way can you ask this question, but in other words, using other words. What do you say?
I don't know, teacher. With other words, the same question?
Yes. For example, you can think of synonyms of what's a synonym of possible, synonym of solution, or try to ask something that the person is going to give us the answer as if we were asking this question. For example, I'm going to give you some words, choices, options, all right?
What is the answer?
Okay, could be the
Maybe.
answer, but actually more than answers, here we need solutions. Okay, very close. Try to use options. How can you use options in this question?
Maybe that a synonym of solution, maybe it was explanation.
Okay, could be in a context, could be explanation, but here, as we're talking possible solutions, you can replace possible solutions by using options. How can you use the word options in this question?
I don't know, teacher.
Okay, remember, this is the conversation, right? Let's suppose, Majo, you have a problem, okay? And I ask you, Majo, what happens? You look sad. Are you okay? What's the problem? And you tell me the problem. Well, it happens this, that. And we want to find solutions, right? Because I want to help you. So what can I ask you? One thing is, well, yeah, tell me, Majo, you wanted to say something?
Or maybe what are you do?
Okay, what can you do? Perhaps what can you do, right? Good, that's one option. What can you do to solve your problem, right? Have you thought of the options or of the choices, right, to solve your problem? And you can tell me, right? This is one possible solution, and this is the other option, but I don't know which one is the best option, right? And then you can ask the next one. But that's more or less the logic. I don't know if you understand, but because Majo, this is what you need to do in 5 minutes. We're going to record, and you have to record these 3 questions, but in different words, okay? Using your own words. You can change the words as you did it, or you can use embedded questions if you want. Remember, embedded questions are for example, and can you tell me what some possible solutions are, right? Embedded questions, we use different order. Could you please tell me what the problem is? Or, I don't know what the disadvantages of each solution are. Okay, that's embedded question, right? A question inside another question. So try to think of that, Majo. Then we're going to work, all of us, all right? And also you, Estefania. The last one is for you, Melanie. The last question that you need to restate, okay, you have to restate the question, is this one. What are the disadvantages of each solution? In which way can you ask the same question, Melanie, but changing some of the words? You can use synonyms, you can change the structure, or whatever you want.
I need to say this now, or I need to record myself? You're in mute, Chris.
Yes, sorry. Okay. No, try to do it now. Later on, we're going to record ourselves. Okay. Now, only in class for everybody.
What do you think can be a problem for each, I don't know each solution, but I don't know how to replace each, to be honest.
Okay, but it's good. It's good. What could be some of the problems, right, for each option that you are telling me, right, for each choice that you're saying? Good. Correct. Okay. Thank you, Melanie. That's it. Now again, Majo, Stefania, and Melanie, not now, but this is the first step. In your recordings, you need to ask these questions in a different way. And then you are going to do what we have to do for this test, okay? Remember, this is part of the Cambridge test. But let's learn what is next. And I'm going to ask you, Majo, you're going to read, please, then and finally, please. Read those 2 points.
Okay, then, when you have all the information you need, explain which solution you think is best and why. Be ready to explain why you didn't choose the other solution. Remember to use information you learn from asking questions to explain your final choice. Finally, after you have shared your advice, you will be asked more questions about the topic.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Majo. So actually, this is the structure, all right? This is the structure of this test. This is the ECC. This is the Cambridge, Michigan test, and it's divided in this part. You have one problem, okay? And you have to find out what's happening by asking those questions. When you ask those questions, the examiner, in this case, I am going to give you the answers. This is the problem. These are the possible solutions. And these are the disadvantages, right, of each solution. You need to listen. Okay, so this is divided in two parts. First, you need to ask, actually in more parts, right? The first part is asking. So you ask questions in a different way. The next part is listening. You need to listen and you need to take notes. And the following part is telling what is the best option for you and why. And you also need to tell me why you didn't choose the other option. All right, so that's more or less, and don't worry, I'm going to explain that with the presentation, but this is more or less what we're going to do. This is something we're going to practice today and Wednesday. All right, it's going to help you have a different way of organizing your ideas, and it's going to help you as well to try to think faster when you need to, and in this case also with your listening skills. All right, and you have some pictures like this down below. All right, and this is related to the problem, this little girl over here, and this is related to the options. You have here one computer and you have like time, all right, something that represents time. Okay, so this is the structure, this is the prompt. Now I'm going back and we're going to read the presentation to understand this even better. Step number 1, this is going to be for you, please, Melanie. Read the whole slide, please.
Okay. Step 1, ask the 3 questions in a different way. It's important to show that you can formulate and reformulate the questions. Use complex structures like embedded questions. Would you mind if I ask you about?
Thank you very much, Melanie. So this is important, right? Here you need to show that you know English very well so that you can restate and reformulate the questions. So you're not going to ask, what is the problem? No, you can ask, using this structure, you can ask the following. Would you mind if I asked you, right, what your problem or what the trouble is, right? And you can ask something like that. It's complex, is well structured, and the question is there. Okay, so this is very important. The first step is to ask the 3 questions you have there, but in a different way, because you need to reformulate those questions by using synonyms or by using a different or more complex structure. Okay, that's the first step. I already told you that one, but here we have extra information. Step 2. Majo, sorry, yes, Majo, let's do step 2 with you, please. Let's read everything.
Step 2, teacher, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Step 2, listen very carefully to the answer for each question. If note taking is allowed, write important words and adjectives. If not, bear in mind important reasons to use.
Thank you very much. So again, the second step then is listening. Okay, in this case, I am going to read for you. In that case, you're going to have perhaps a conversation that you need to listen to, but for these practices that we're going to have, I am going to read for you the problem, the options, and the disadvantages. And sometimes you have different questions, but this time, those are the questions. This time you can take notes, so note taking is allowed. So you have to write important words and adjectives. I'm supposed to read only once, all right? So you need to take notes and pay, all right? Close attention to all those answers. If not, in this case, this is not going to happen, but if it's not allowed, you have to bear in mind important reasons to use, okay? So you have to pay attention to more or less what the problem is and some of the reasons that you may use, okay? So here I have one question. Some of you may know this. I think you've used this before. So this, Bear in mind. Who can tell me what's a synonym of bear in mind? Or what's the meaning of bearing something in mind? Who knows that? Okay, Melanie, tell me please.
Maybe like keep in mind can be a synonym.
Correct, exactly. And how can you explain that? What is to bear in mind or to keep in mind? How can you explain that?
Like when you need to focus to remember something important, because this is going to be your answer. So you need to like save your memory just for a short time. I think that is keep in mind.
Okay, good. Thank you very much, Melanie. I think that was good. Actually, the last part was very good. To save something, right, for you, could be for a short period of time usually, because you have to remember that specific information, right? So keep in mind, bear in mind, right? Remember, in other words, okay? Remember, try to remember important information that you're going to use later on. Okay, good. So this is the second step. You only need to listen carefully and take notes. All right, listen carefully and take notes. Step 3. Now, this is very important because this is the way you have to structure your answers when recording. Estefania, let's read step 3, please.
Okay, teacher. Step 3. State your opinion following this order. Give your opinion by mentioning what the best option is. Tell why it is the best option. Tell why the other option was not the best.
Thank you very much, Estefania. So you have to support these ideas. It's not as simple as this because you have to do this in 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute is more than the 45 seconds we had before. This is 1 minute. Okay, so first, your opinion telling me or telling the examiner what is right, what the best option is. Then, why it is the best option. And finally, why the other option was not the best. Okay, those are the 3 steps that have to be integrated in your answer, in your 1 minute answer. Okay, only those 3, but you have to use information from what you listened. You can use your common sense. You can use your own beliefs and your own information. But if you don't mention something that was mentioned in the listening, you are not going to like have any score over there, all right, in general, for the test and for this practice. And finally, this is the last part, and I'm going with you once again, Melanie, please step forward. Let's read this step, please.
Okay, step 4. Answer the questions that are related to the topic. Be concise. Don't give too much extra information. Use some intensifiers and embellishings your speech.
Thank you very much, Melanie. So again, right? Answer to the questions that are related to the topic. When you are asked those questions, and this is something you don't record this one. This is something we're going to do in class. Okay, I'm going to ask you this one. But be concise, of course. Don't give too much extra information. It means focus on that specific topic and question, but use intensifiers, right? It's very important, all right? It's so interesting. Those are intensifiers. And embellish your speech, right? It means use those words that give emphasis to your ideas, that structure your ideas in a good way. For example, connectors, intensifiers, some words to emphasize your ideas, and so on and so forth. Okay, and that's it. Then we're going to have some tips, but before doing that, we're going to practice just like that. We're going to practice this. Then I'm going to give you important information about your oral presentation, your final oral presentation. That is very, very important. And then we're going to go back to finish with 2 more activities. All right. Do you have any questions about this structure? This is what you're going to do now. The first 3 steps. You're going to record the first 3 steps in only one audio file. You're going to ask the questions in a different way. You have to reformulate and use different structures. You have to listen carefully to what I'm going to read for you. You have to take notes. I'm only going to read once. And then you need to record your answers. Of course, first you record the questions, and in that same recording, after listening, you're going to record this. Tell me what's the best option. Tell me why it is the best option and why the other option was not the best. And you have to give me a lot of details because you're going to have 1 minute. Okay, you're going to have 1 minute to do so. Step 4 is going to be not for recording. Okay, it's something we're going to do afterwards. So once again, do you have any questions about these first 3 steps to start with the first activity? Let me know, please. All right. Okay, Melanie, let me know what your question or doubt is, please.
Yeah, sorry, teacher. You mentioned that after this we are going to talk about the final presentation, right?
Yes, exactly. After this activity, I'm going to tell you some of the criteria and important information that you need to take into account. All right. Okay, good. So, very good. Let's begin then. Please, you are going to do the following so that you have this, because I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, well, that's something I'm going to show you later on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but you need to do the following. Please go to Google Classroom, go to classwork, and go to Unit 4. And in Unit 4, go to Material, ECCE Speaking Test. This is everything we're going to practice today and Wednesday. We're going to work with this one, ECCE 2013, okay? ECCE 2013. You can open that one and have it opened for you, okay? Those are the questions. It's the same. It's what we read a few minutes ago. It's the same. But take that for you because those are the questions that you need to restate, and you can take a look at those pictures too while you're listening, all right, to have a better idea of what the problem is and what the options are. Okay, so please do it. Have that there for you because I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I can read the information for you. All right, so once again, and finally, what you're going to do is the following. I'm going to read directly because I'm going to imagine that you're asking me those questions. Okay, all of you, Stefania, Majo, and Mela, but you're not going to do it here in class. You're only going to record. What I'm going to do now is directly read for you, all right? I'm going to read the problem, I'm going to read the possible solutions, and I'm going to read the disadvantages. Okay, I'm going to read everything at once, one reading, okay, and one time. I finish doing that, and I'm going to give you 2 minutes, but in fact, you only have 1 minute to record, okay? You have 1 minute to record, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes because you may start afterwards, right? You may have some problem and start again, okay? That's why I'm going to give you 2 minutes, but be careful and be sure that you only record 1 minute for the questions at the beginning of your recording and the answer. And the answer must contain, you know what? Your opinion with the best option that you believe is the best option, explain why, and explain why not the other option, okay? That's what you need to record in that 1 minute. And of course, afterwards, you have to upload that here. The 4th week in class activities. That's it. Again, do you have any questions about that before starting? Let me know. If not, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to read, all right, the information for the first situation. And remember the first situation, you have that in Google Classroom, ECCE 2013, this one, all right, for this situation. Okay, any questions or doubts? Let me know. Also get ready. You can take notes. Okay, so I'm going to ask one by one. Stefania, do you have any questions? Are you ready to take notes? Are you ready to listen into the problem and the rest of the information?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, thank you very much. What about you, Majo? Do you have any questions and are you ready to start?
No, teacher, I don't have any question.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And Melanie, what about you? Any questions? And are you ready to begin with?
Yeah, one question, teacher.
Yes.
To restructure it and then answer, for example, what is the problem? This is the principal question. I restructured that, so what is happening on your mind right now? I don't know. And then answer that with the option, or is just all first restructure it and then the best option?
First, you restructure and you reformulate the 3 questions, all right, at the beginning of the recording. And then after you read the 3 ways in which you restructure your questions, you start giving me the big answer. And the big answer contains the option that you chose, supporting that option with a reason, and telling me why the other option is not as good as the one that you chose. Okay, that's the structure. First, only the questions, and then only the answers. All right?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. There you go. So let's begin, please. Again, I'm stopped. Yes, I stopped sharing my screen, and I'm going to read for you. Please pay attention. I'm only going to read once. All right, I'm only going to read once. And you need to, all right, be careful with this. You can open that file and you can watch those pictures that you have. They are going to help you with that, all right, with understanding the problems and the solutions and so on. So I'm going to begin. Take notes, please. What is the problem? My 10-year-old son wants a cell phone so that he can text message all his friends. We think this is a bad idea because he will be distracted in school and his grades may suffer as a result. What are some possible solutions? The first option, tell him to just message or email his friends on the computer at home. The second option, he has to wait until he is 12 to get a cell phone. What are the disadvantages of each solution? The first one, the first disadvantage of the first option, he might keep other family members from using the computer and need supervision. The disadvantages or disadvantage for the second option, he will feel left out and might not like going to school. That's it. All right, that's it. Now, I'm going to share my screen again. So now what you have to do is this step, right? First, you have to record the questions in a different way. You have to reformulate those questions that you have there. And in the same recording, after asking those questions, you need to give me this information, all right? Give your opinion by mentioning what the best option is, tell why it is the best option, and tell why the other option was not the best. Okay, I'm going to leave that over there. So please, you have 1 minute. I'm going to give you 2, as I told you, in case you start again, but you only need to record 1 minute and your recording has to be maximum 1 minute long. Besides using the information from the listening, all right, you can give your own opinion related to that topic because you need to show that you're convinced that that's the best option. So you can mention some experiences that you had, you can mention whatever you want, but you have to use information from the listening and support ideas with your own experiences and with your own facts and information. All right, so with that said, please get ready. You have 1 minute to record. You may begin now, please. All right, so let's finish everything, please. Remember, upload this now. It's very important to upload it now because I'm going to listen to that and I need to listen to that now so that I can give you feedback. And after explaining you, right, about the first idea, right, the oral presentation, well, I can give you feedback and we can work in the activity in a better way. All right, so do it, please. Upload that information to Google Classroom. And while you're doing it, I'm going to check what we have for the oral presentation. And then I'm going to listen to your recordings. All right, I hope that Estefania is back soon. Perhaps she was still recording. But if you have any questions, any doubts, let me know. I'm going to try to wait some seconds so that Estefania may be back. Let me check this. Okay, and again, you can save this as activity 1, or you can set the name, right? ECCE Cambridge 1. It is that it is organized in a way. All right, any way that you want. Can be Cambridge activity, or even you can set one name that gives me the idea of this problem, and it's going to be better in that case. I don't know what happened with Stefania. I want all of you to be here to start with the oral presentation details. Okay, if you can send her a message, try to tell her to be back, please, because now, as you are uploading your recordings, I'm going to start giving you details about the oral presentation. Okay, so let's begin with this. You're going to help me reading. The first part, it's not different. You know that one. Also, the second part is not different, but let's remember what the time is going to be. And there's a very important element that is telling us that everything now down below is obligatory. Help me out with the first part, please, Majo. Read time, structure, and the introduction, please.
Okay, teacher. Time. Introduction. Ask yourself one question to choose between two options or between the idea of agreement and disagreement. Which one is better, to run every morning or to go to the gym? Do you agree or disagree with the following idea? It is better to learn a little about many subjects than to learn a lot about only one subject. Answer the question with a short explanation. Mention some benefits that you'll develop later on.
Thank you very much, Majo. So this is the important thing here. 15 minutes, right? It's not 10, it's 15 minutes. And now all the following points are obligatory. So you have to choose one of those, right? You have to choose between two options, or you need to show this, right? We have to be careful with these words. Agreement, okay? Agreement and disagreement. And these are two examples. Which one is better, this or that? Or you have to ask yourself, do you agree or disagree with the following idea, right? It's better to do this than that. And you need to tell me, right? Yes, I agree with this, or I disagree with that idea. That's obligatory. The next step that is obligatory, answer the questions with a short explanation, right? So give me a short explanation in the introduction. And finally, you have to mention some benefits that you'll develop later on. Okay, now this is obligatory. Something that Carolina told me, I think that it's correct, and I agree with her, is that sometimes if you mention all the benefits and then you go to the body and you talk about those benefits, it can be redundant, right? But it doesn't matter, and you don't need to mention all the benefits. Just mention some of the benefits or give me an idea of what kind of information you're going to give me in the body. but now this is obligatory, all right? Some of you did it, some of you didn't do it. That's why I'm asking this time that this is going to be obligatory, all right? So 2 options, the answer and give me an idea of your body. Melanie, tell me what your question or doubt is, please.
Sorry, teacher. So about this last point about mention some benefits that you will develop later on. So for example, if we remember my last presentation, I was talking about communication and also keep your mind and your heart open. I need to, for example, just mention like that. So for a best friendship, you need the communication, or I need to explain a little bit more. Communication for keep bonds among your friends or something like that, or is just mention?
Actually, it's enough, all right, with mentioning those. So you can say, Melanie, in the following presentation, I'm going to talk about communication and how important it is to be open-minded. You can say that. And if you want to give a better idea, you can give a short extra explanation related to that, right? And in the presentation, I'm going to talk about communication because, as we know, communication is very important when having a relationship, and also the idea of having an open mind, right? Because of this and that, but very shortly. And then in the development or the body, you're going to give me a broader idea, all right, a wider idea. So you have 2 options. You can only mention the names, communication, and be open-minded, or give me a short explanation, but don't mention the things you may mention in the body. Just a short thing. That's enough, all right? I don't know if you have any other doubts or if it was clear, Melanie.
No, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. And before working, okay, don't worry, Stefania. Thanks for being back. It's important because I'm going to be checking your recordings. Okay, so remember, please, Majo, Melanie, and Stefania, as I'm explaining this, you have to upload your recording so that I can listen to them, all right? So I can listen to them after checking this information and the criteria, all right? So now the body and the conclusion are going to be for you, Stefania. Let's read those 2, please.
Okay, teacher, body, explain all the benefits in details. Contrast the 2 ideas that you showed at the beginning. Show examples and facts. Conclusion, summarize all the information. Mention why you still believe that your option was the best. Finish the presentation.
Thank you very much. And again, all of them are obligatory this time. So it means you are not only going to explain and give me information about the benefits, but now in your presentation, you have 15 minutes, you have to contrast these 2 ideas. It means if you're talking about running and going to the gym, you need to give me a chart, for example, in which you are comparing. Running has, right, these benefits. Going to the gym has these benefits. And you compare, right, finding positive and negative aspects in both and trying to be neutral. All right, that's one thing. The same, if you are working with agreement or disagreement, you need to show me some elements, some facts that are advantages and disadvantages, perhaps, if you agree or if you disagree with that idea. So if you agree, right, that to learn a little about many subjects is better, okay, than learning about only one, you need to tell me what is the advantage or what are the advantages of just, okay, learning a little about many subjects and the advantages and disadvantages of learning a lot about only one subject. Okay, it's the same. You need to contrast, all right, those 2 ideas. And finally, this is also obligatory now. Some of you did it very well, so try to do it again. You have to show examples and facts. All right, examples and facts. It can be experiences, it can be some facts that you get from articles, right, on the internet. It's up to you. And the conclusion is something that I think all of you did. Summarizing, restating, right, why you still believe that you were right, and to finish the presentation. Do you have any questions about this? Let me know, please. We're going to go now to the criteria, because there we have some important, very important changes. No? All right. So again, everything here that I just read is in the description of the upload your final oral presentation, all right, section. If you go there and you go to the description, you're going to find this information. Now, going to the criteria. Most, all right, of the criteria are the same, but the big changes that I'm talking about are in two important parts. So first, let's check what is the same. Pronunciation, the same, all right, we don't have any changes here. It's 20. Here we have one change, okay, and this is very important. Why? I'm going to tell you why when we get to the point that is different. Vocabulary, conjugation, and structures. Everything is the same except for this, all right? So you're going to have the 20 points here if you, well, make at most 2 mistakes, right? If you make more than 2 mistakes, you're going to be losing some points. And here, the last one, if you make more than 12 mistakes, or if you read, all right, or if you don't paraphrase, all right, throughout the presentation, you are going to have this score, okay? Why? Because it's not fair, right? If you're only reading, of course, you're going to have less mistakes over here. It may be different. Why? Because it's only reading. So in order to evaluate this, I need you, all right, to use your own words. That's why also your presentations are going to be a little bit different. I think you can do what I can use your example, Melanie, this time. In your presentations, you have only a couple of words sometimes, right? You have, for example, communication, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas, but only a couple of words, some phrases. Why? Because you read the phrase or the 2 words that you have over there, and you say, okay, and you start explaining, and you use your own words, the next part, right? So that is what I'm going to be expecting, all right? You cannot have a lot of information in your oral presentation this time, and you cannot read. You maximum can have something to guide you and to make you say, okay, so communication and disadvantage. And you start speaking, and that's your words, all right? And if that's the case, you're going to be evaluated over the 20. If it's not the case, it's not going to be like that, all right? You're going to get this lower score. Why? Because, you know, that's why reading and speaking are divided into 2 different skills. Here, we need to focus on speaking, all right? Speaking, not reading. Then, this is the same, organizing. Now, you know, it's the same structure, and it's a structure that we just read before coming here. The introduction with those elements that are obligatory, the body with those elements that are obligatory, and the conclusion. If you have that organization, you have the 20 points. Okay, here we don't have any difference with the previous one. Now, this is different. As you know, we have to work 15 minutes. There's not going to be time this time to ask questions, to answer questions. That's why I'm also doing this here, because I need to be sure that this time you're going to be paraphrasing. In the first presentations, I was able to notice that because of the questions. When you answer questions, right, I can notice how you use your own words, and I can see the differences between the presentation and your own words. Now that we're not going to have questions and answers, I need to be sure that you're going to be using your own words. And that's why we have this and the change before. So this is something you're going to help me out, please. And Melanie, let's read this, the first part and the last criterion, please, Melanie.
Okay. Paraphrasing or using one's own words. The student paraphrases many ideas throughout the whole presentation and doesn't read more than short phrases, sentences to remember the specific information. Excellent. The student follows these instructions and needs to improve. The student paraphrases very few ideas in less than 25% of the presentation and or reads long sentences or ideas throughout the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Melanie. So this is the idea. Again, these are the two extremes, right? You follow all the instructions, or well, you read a lot, you didn't paraphrase, you didn't use your own words. Okay, so the idea is what I told you before, and this is 20 points over here. You have to use only some short phrases or sentences in the presentation to give you an idea of what you need to explain now. I was giving the example, right, with Melanie's presentation. Communication disadvantage. Just have one little and short thing over there. You cannot have an entire paragraph, for example, that's going to be directly as reading. You cannot have a very complex idea because that's going to be as reading. Only one element, okay, this time, only one element that is going to make you remember what you need to talk about now, all right? If you have that one, you're going to have 20 points over here. If you perhaps 25% of the presentation, it means out of the 15 minutes, I don't know, right? You spent like, I don't know, I'm going to make this out, I don't know, more than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just reading, it's going to be 15. More than that, it's going to be 10. 50% of the presentation. It means 7 to 8 minutes of your presentation, all right, was something that you were reading and you were not paraphrasing. It's going to be 10, right? 25, as I was telling you, it's going to be 5, and then less than 25 is going to be that low score. Okay, if you have any questions about this, let me know. But again, the idea is that now we have 15 minutes and we don't have time for questions, and I need to be sure that you're going to be using your own words, that you're not going to be reading, and that you can show me your skills when improvising and using vocabulary, all right, in the way that you can do it. All right, that's the big change. And also, you know, the other change is related to time management, but it's only because we have 15 minutes this time. And it's like that. For 14 minutes and 30 seconds, or 15 minutes and 30 seconds, right? And 30 seconds, sorry, it's going to be 20, right? If it's longer than that by 1 minute, 15. Longer by 2 minutes, 10. Longer by 3 minutes, 5. And if it's longer by 4 minutes or more, it's going to be only that score. All right, again, this is to control time in terms of I want to listen to what you say, and I don't want you to use more time because we are not going to have time to finish with all of you. Okay, so that's the criteria for this final oral presentation. Do you have any questions, comments, or something that you want to let me know? Tell me, please. Okay, then that's it. Please get ready. You have time. This Friday is going to be the final oral presentation, and we have one final conversation, one final listening session, but this time, as it was the previous course, it's going to be like the closing of this course. I'm going to have a short conversation with you related to your experience, and well, having that last conversation is going to be next Tuesday. All right, but we finish everything this Friday. Remember that tomorrow we don't have the listening session, right? Tomorrow we don't have a session. It's going to be directly Wednesday for the class and Thursday for that conversation or session. And Melanie, let me know, please, what your question or doubt is, or your comment.
Yeah, one comment. I already sent my permission because this Friday I can't. It's going to be difficult to be on class. So I already sent my permission to the administration section. However, I just want to mention that for give my presentation Thursday if it's possible.
Okay, okay. Thank you for letting me know, Melanie. Yes, you know, if it's like that, if it's like the letter and everything related to management, no problem. They're going to tell me if they approved that one. I believe that they are going to do it. If that's the case, we're going to work with you the same way we did, right? Your oral presentation is going to be then on Thursday. The same criteria, right? As we don't have any other questions this time, we don't have any other extra recordings, right? It's going to be just the presentation and that's it. Okay, thanks for letting me know, Melanie. Good. So let's continue and let's listen to your answers. All right, now I'm going to give you some feedback and we're going to try to work with at least one more, all right, one more activity. And with the feedback that I'm going to give you, you can work that in a better way. So let's start with you, Melanie. I'm going to share the sound of my computer. Okay, okay, and done. All right, so again, I'm going to be stopping little by little, and I'm going to give you my feedback related to some general expressions, but in the overall structure as well.
What are the circumstances that you are suffering for?
Okay.
What are the circumstances that you are suffering for?
All right, the first part, I don't get that word before that suffering for. What is that word, Melanie? I didn't get it very well.
What are the circumstances?
Okay, circumstances. All right, thank you very much.
What are the best options for give a different circumstance of a solution?
Okay, as you're saying for, you can say to give or for given, right? If you're using for, you need a gerund. If not, you can use infinitive, but directly infinitive with to.
Would you mention some problems for each option that you are looking for? The problem is that
Okay, so those are the questions. Now let's go to the answer itself.
A kid of 10 years old is trying to get a cell phone. The
Go.
problem is that a kid of 10 years old is trying to get a cell phone to text with.
Okay, good. Now that one, I would recommend the following. It's not incorrect, a kid of 10 years old, but I would recommend to use 10-year-old as an adjective before the main word. So you can say, the problem is that a 10-year-old kid or a 10-year-old boy, all right, that it sounds more natural. It's very weird to listen to that, a kid of 10 years old. So it's better to use that one as an adjective, all right, before the noun that is modified. Okay, so one last time, a 10-year-old boy or kid.
His friends, and it's okay. However, this can be a distraction for all the responsibilities and also the school. The best solution for me is to wait until 12 years old because he can have more time.
Okay, good. Now there, I understand that one. I think everybody that listened to the problem is going to be able to do it. But to wait until 12 years old, perhaps you can add, even if it can be redundant, it's better to add there the pronoun, right? To wait until he's, right? To wait until he is 12 years old.
Time doing the things that age kids needs to do. For example, I don't know, go to play to the park and things like that, and not get involved with cell phone yet. A message by a computer maybe is not the best.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, in general, just those little corrections in terms of vocabulary at the beginning. Be careful with prepositions and gerunds. Try to use those ones as adjectives. And I think you didn't have time to finish with the last idea, right? Again, I didn't mention everything yet, the structure. I'm going to give you one example of what you can do. But you were missing, right, I think, the last explanation of why not. And I didn't mention also this here, but you can do that. have a short conclusion saying something like, and that's why, right, I believe that it is the best option. All right, that can be a way of finishing. And actually, it's something I'm going to show in this presentation, but you can implement that one here. I don't know if you have any questions about this feedback, Melanie. Let me know, please.
No, any question? Just yes, I didn't have time for mention the why not option. So it was 1 minute and I decided to just cut to mention that it's not the best.
Okay, yes, and that's better, right? It's better to have the time over there because of the instructions. Thank you very much, Melanie. Good. Let's go now to the next one. Over here. Okay, and in this case, why I'm not going to give you also like a specific time structure for this test. Why? Because actually it's kind of a conversation in the test, and it takes from 1 to 3 minutes. Okay, and the conversation includes asking questions, listening to those right answers, and then giving your opinion. All right, so it's like a conversation. It's different from the TOEFL because actually you work with people, okay? The TOEFL is just with a machine, right? A computer. You record yourself doing that. But here you're going to be with some examiners that are going to ask you that, and they're going to be waiting for your opinion. So this is Estefania's. Let's listen to this.
What is happening with you? How can we solve the problem?
Okay, what's happening with you? How can we solve the problem?
What are the problems with the solutions?
Okay, good. The problems. We said that before, and it's correct, right? And try to think one big word that it can be very similar to that one in a context can be some inconveniences, right? What are some inconveniences, or what's the inconvenience, right, of those options?
I think the best option is tell him that just
Okay, in that case, right, the best option is telling him or to tell him, right? The best option is to tell him or telling him
a message with his friends in home.
Okay, to message, right, with his friends at home. It's better at home. Okay, let's continue.
And with the computer.
Okay, good. That was missing. Good. Using the computer or with the computer.
Because they would have the option to message with his friends and not feel left out between his friends.
Okay, so there also you have to choose the structure. They will have the option to perhaps, right, to message to his friends and not to feel left out, could be, right, using infinitive in both the structures.
The other option I think is not the best because he could feel a little different in comparison with the.
Okay, so here we're having some problems, but it's not bad. In comparison, right? In comparison with
his other friends.
Okay, and that's it, right? So again, this is the first attempt. It's good. I believe that you had that information, but I think we need at least to support that last idea a little bit more, Estefania, to make that a little bit more convincing, right? Of why it was not the best option. At least to say one more thing to support that idea. Remember that you can mention some experiences, examples. You had 7 more seconds in this case. So you may have the chance of talking about one experience or one example, and then, as we're going to see now, to give a short conclusion. All right, we didn't see the structure yet, but that's something I recommend. Do you have any questions about this feedback and these ideas? Let me know, please.
No, teacher, thank you.
Okay, no, thank you. Sorry, thank you. And let's go with you. Do you have yours, Marco? Let me see.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, let me upload this again over here. So again, perhaps you uploaded it again in the oral presentation. I think it's not here. Let me check.
Yes, teacher is here.
Okay. Yes, there you go. Very good.
Teacher, but I think it's bad because I don't respond why is the best option for me.
Okay, then I'm only going to give you feedback related to the expressions and the words that you use, all right? But then
Okay.
you know more or less how you can structure, all right? So let's begin.
First, what is the problem? So, what happened with that?
Okay, good. So you are reading that word. It's okay now, but in case you're going to need the 1 minute, as you only have 1 minute, try to read directly the reformulated question, all right? Don't read the main question. So you don't need to say what's the problem. Directly the way you reformulated the question, all right? In that way, you save some time.
Next, what are some possible solutions? And what can we do?
Okay, good. That's interesting. Again, you have many ways of asking that. That's an interesting one, a short one, but yeah, it relates to the options. Good.
Next, what are the disadvantages of each solution? What is the problem with those options?
Okay, with those, good. Yes, what's the problem with those options, right? What's the inconvenience with those options? Good. I think all of you did a good work with this one. Very good so far. Now, again, as you realize, you have 20 seconds already, right, out of the 1 minute. But it's better if you spend fewer seconds in the questions and more time given the real answers. All right, so let's keep going.
And the problem is that the kid is 10 years old and he wants a cell phone to send message to his friends. The best solution is to
Okay, let me go back a little bit.
10 years old and he wants a cell phone to send message to his
Okay, there to send messages or to send some messages, right? With plural, and it has to be very noticeable. Okay, good. Some messages or messages to his friends.
friends. The best solution is to wait to give the cell phone to the 12 years.
Okay, to wait to give him, right? You need one object over there. Good. To wait to give him the cell phone until he's 12 years old.
And the disadvantage is she needs to wait 2 years.
Okay, the disadvantage is that he has to wait. All right, so it's not bad, but again, as you were saying, you need to focus more on giving reasons. All right, so I would spend, for example, this is my recommendation for everybody. I told you, I'm not going to give you strict time limits this time, but try to spend maximum 15 seconds maximum in the first questions, and then the rest of the time to give me the answer. All right. Before giving you my example, do you have any questions or comments about this, Majo? Let me know, please. No?
No, teacher, no anything.
Okay, thank you very much. So you can do something like this. I'm going to read this for you. So you start recording, right, and you can ask, what's happening? As you were saying, right? I'm going to use your expressions. What are some options to solve that problem? What's the inconvenience of each of those options? That's it. Okay, those were my questions. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, no more than that. Then the answer, you can take a look at these pictures and say, you don't need to mention the problem again, okay? It's not necessary. It's enough if you say, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, or personally, I believe that, right? It's best to wait until he's 12 years old. Because, and you may give some reasons, right? This age, it's impossible to know that this kid is going to use that device responsibly, all right? He's going to learn about patience and responsibility before having access, right? Or getting access to that device. And you may mention something else, right? So you need to directly justify, okay? Don't mention the problem if you don't want. Just tell me directly what's the best option for you? Okay, so once again, personally, I believe that it's best to wait until he's 12 years old, because at this age, he's not aware of responsibility yet. It's better to develop that knowledge before giving him access to a very important device as it is the cell phone. All right. I don't believe that using the computer is going to be the best option, because you need time to supervise this person, and not all the time you're going to be able to do it. And as we said, and as you said, sometimes you are going to be like limited in the usage of that computer. Okay, so in that way, what I did is first telling the option that I chose, giving some reasons, something that that person mentioned in the listening, and something that I added, my own words. And then I said why the other option is not the best according to what I believe, what I think. But I used information from the listening and I structured that. And finally, you can say something like, and because of that reason, right, or because of those reasons, I believe that the best option is to wait, period. All right, period. So before working one more, I'm just going to show you very briefly this. Let's read actually. We're only going to work with one more activity. So let's read this, please. Melanie, read tips, please.
Okay, tips. To show what the best option is, try to use transition words and phrases like, in my opinion, personally, I think, believe, that. To give reasons, use transition words and phrases like because, for, as, since to give a reason. To support the reason with some example of facts, use transition words and phrases like, for instance, for example, to illustrate, as a matter of fact, in fact. To restate some disadvantages that were mentioned, use transition words and phrases like, as you mentioned, as it was mentioned before, according to you.
Thank you very much. Good. Now, my big advice here is the following. Remember that this is supposed to be a conversation, that you asked those questions, now you listened to the answers, and now you're giving your opinion. So try to keep it that way. In my opinion, this is the best option because of this and that. In fact, I have my own son, right? And I did that with him. And it's important to use the words that you listened so you can say that. As you mentioned, right? It's not actually a good idea because you're going to be limited from using the computer now that you're going to need extra time to supervise what he's doing. Okay, so you may use the other person's words, all right? The other person's words. Then the last part is going to be this one. And this is going to be for you, please. Majo, read all this information, please.
Okay. To show why the other option was not the best, try to use these transition words and phrases. I don't believe that. Contrary to that, the other option, it's hard to imagine that as for the other option. To conclude your opinion, try to use these transition words and phrases. Because of all those reasons, that's why, therefore, thus, etc. Useful expressions, I agree with, I disagree with, I'm for, I'm against, I never thought, I've always thought.
Thank you very much, Majo. Now, this is very important. After you support your idea, right? I believe that this is the best option because of this and that. In fact, this example in my life, as you said before, this and that, now you talk about the option that you didn't choose. So you say, I don't believe that giving him access to a computer is the best option, right? Because of this and that. Or you can say, I disagree with that. Or I've always thought that it's best to wait until the best age, right? To have access to certain devices. And then the conclusion, Because of all those reasons, or that's why, or therefore, I believe that waiting is the best option for your problem, period. Okay, so try to use these expressions. Right now, I'm not going to make you read. On Wednesday, we're going to do that. Remember, I'm going to choose some of these expressions and you're going to use those expressions in your answer. Right now, just try to keep in mind this information. And to finish today's class, we're going to work with one more. Okay, just one more. We have these 8 minutes, I believe. This is what you're going to do. Please, you need to go to Google Classroom so that you have access to that as well. This is going to be your next prompt. ECCE 2009, okay, 2009, the one that is on the right. You have other one, right? This one, 2009, it says prompt 1. Open that one. These are the questions. Look, they are a little bit different, but actually it's related to the same, okay? Actually, they are the same. All right, in this case, they are the same. What's the problem? What are your options, right? This is in a different way, but it's the same. And what are the disadvantages for each option? Sometimes they change, but in this case, it's the same. And these are the pictures that you need to take into account. All right? So let's begin. You're going to do the same. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. That's why please go to Google Classroom and open that one so that you have that with you and you take a look at the pictures. Again, few seconds, 10 seconds, 15 maximum for the questions. Restate the questions once again. Try to use different words once again. And the rest of the time, all right, 50 or 45 seconds, according to what time you used before, for giving the answer. Again, try to give that information. Don't mention the problem, it's not necessary. Just say directly, I believe that this is the best option because of this example and my experience. As you said, also, that's very important. And this other one is not a good idea because of that. And that's why I believe that that's the best option. All right, that's the idea. If you have any questions before starting, let me know. If not, I'm going to start reading the information for you. Okay, any questions? Let me know, please. All right, let's begin. Please take notes. This is the information for this prompt. What is the problem? My best friend is excited about her brand new hairstyle. However, I think it looks terrible. I'm sure the next time we see each other, we'll want to know, or she'll want to know, what I think. I'm not sure what to tell her. What are your options? Option number 1. Don't tell her what I really think. I could tell her it looks very nice. Option number 2. I could be honest and tell her what I think, that it looks really bad, or that I think that it looks really bad. What are the disadvantages of each option? The disadvantage of option 1. It will be a lie to tell her it looks nice. We're always very honest with each other, and I don't want to lie to her. Option 2. I may hurt her feelings because we are very close. She might feel bad about her new hairstyle or get mad at me. That's it. Okay, that's the information. Now, let me close that one again and share my screen so that you have access to this while you are doing that. So, again, please, you have 1 minute to record the questions in different words, restructuring the questions, and giving the answer in the way we discussed before. Okay, if you don't have any more questions, please, you may begin now. All right. So I imagine that all of you finished. Please don't forget to upload this recording to Google Classroom as well. And I'm going to listen to them on Wednesday. All right. I'm going to listen to the 3 of them. So please have it ready for Wednesday so that I can listen to it and give you my feedback. And on Wednesday, we're going to use the tips that I showed you, and we're going to use a more specific structure so that you know how you can approach this type of test. All right. And of course, you can use that strategy as well to improve your speaking skills. That's it. Do you have any questions to finish today's class? Let me know, please. Remember that tomorrow we don't have a listening session. Tomorrow there's going to be a holiday. Directly on Wednesday is going to be the next class. Thursday, the conversation or the listening session. And in Melanie's case, right, if she had the permission for that one, it's going to be her presentation. And Friday, the final oral presentation with the rest of you. And next week, Tuesday, is the last listening session with a closing of the course. Any questions, let me know. If not, please, as always, I'm going to ask you to fill out the survey. And I'm going to thank you again for being in today's class. Have a great night, and I'll see you Wednesday. All right? Bye-bye, girls.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Teacher,
Bye.
bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.